Hi, in this video we're going to continue with our new recommendation. What we're going to focus on here is how do we add rules. I'll explain a bit about the execution order and why it's important, as well as the auto-escalate. Before we jump into that, in the solution development process, which area are we focusing of the three right now? We're focusing on number 2, the recommendation creation and the rules. The assumption here is that you've already gone through the number 1, you've already got some data sources that have been created, and you're ready to create some of the recommendations and the rules. Let's jump into the software. So this is the App Designer. Where we're going to go to is on the left, we're going to go to recommendations, and then top right we're going to open manage recommendations. This will open a list of all the recommendations that have been created. If we open the one that we've created previously, which would be the temperature threshold, you'll notice that it is still blank. What we want to do here is we want to add some rules to this particular recommendation. To do that, we click the plus. What that'll do is that'll open up a new blade for us on the right, which will allow us to now configure the recommendation rules. The first one is to give it a rule name. The second is a headline, and then a description. Now, where these all get used is the rule name gets used when you are actually within a data stream and you want to do something with the recommendations, read them out, see which ones have been closed, not closed. So it's very important to make sure that their name implies what this rule is actually doing. I've got a few examples. I'll show you what I mean by when we get there. The headline is what will appear at the top of the recommendation, and then the description is what will appear in the description of the actual recommendation. Where do these two appear? If I go to a list of recommendations I already have and I just open one up, you'll see here is the title and here is the description. If we drill into the recommendation, across the top you will see the title, and again you will see the description. So this is where it will appear. And the last area that it'll appear is if I go into a particular event board, you will see across the top you will have the title, and then underneath that you will have the description as well. So again, when you're configuring your recommendations with regards to their name, their titles, make sure they are something an end user can actually relate to, and explain what it is that the rule is addressing. A bit further down we have notification ranking, so you can rank your specific notification for this rule. Is it a low, medium or high? All that this does is affects how it appears when you see your recommendations on the event board side. You can give it a specific icon, and you can start going through some of the other details here. We will follow in a lot more detail some of the specific items in here. This is more just to give you an idea of how do I create a new rule. To click the plus and it'll bring up the rule. Once you've filled everything in, you can click save and the new rule will appear. If I open up an existing rule that we've already configured, what you'll see here is this is for discharge pressure, and if I click it, you'll see I have 2 rules that has been specified for this particular recommendation. I have my name, I have my headline, and I have my description. The name, I can very quickly see what the rule is actually about. That's why naming your rules is very important. This is ranked as a high. If I click the out of optimum range, you'll see that is ranked as a medium. And what the numbers actually mean here is you'll see I've enabled execution order across the top. So what execution order allows me to do is I can actually run these rules in a sequence. What that means is the first rule will evaluate. If it evaluates to false, it moves on to the second. The second evaluates to false, it moves on to the third, and so it continues down as many rules as you've got configured. If I was to untick that, you will see both my rules are available, but I don't have numbering attached to them. What this means is as soon as this recommendation is triggered, both of these rules are going to execute at exactly the same time. If both of them evaluate to true, you are going to get 2 recommendations. There may be a scenario when you need to do that. If, however, your rules need to be very structured, you can use the execution order for those. What you'll notice is I don't have auto-escalate ticked here as well. So what auto-escalate does is, let's say you have a scenario where your second rule, which in this instance would be my medium ranking one, was actually triggered. So there is a current pending recommendation for this. If the data comes through and your first rule holds true, what the auto-escalate will do is it will close out the first and it will escalate the rule to the next one. So auto-escalate allows you to only have one recommendation available at a time for, in this instance, discharge pressure. If you were to leave it unticked, if both of these evaluated to true over different time spans with different sets of data, you would get two recommendations coming through as well. So what do we have a look at today? In a prior video we created a new recommendation. So how did we actually do that? Here we went through how do I add new rules to a recommendation, and we also briefly touched on how do I go through the auto-escalate and the execution order for a particular rule as well.